All right, y'all. So a comedy civil war has erupted. You have basically Joe Rogan and Andrew Schulz, and they're the two who are in the Rogan sphere who are now leading the charge against the Rogan sphere critical comedians. But yeah, there are some clear dividing lines here. Of course, you have Mark Maron on the other side of them. You have, you could argue, Andrew Santino, Bobby Lee, Stavros. So there's some clear dividing lines here, and this is the first time that it appears like both Joe Rogan and Andrew Schulz sort of snapped and decided to call out some of their detractors. So we talked a little bit about Rogan versus Maron the other day on Friday, but I wanted to dive a little deeper here. So shout out to Too Lazy to Try, who has a great YouTube channel. Definitely go subscribe to Too Lazy to Try. They broke down the Rogan versus Maron thing, and we're going to go ahead and break it down. Here we go.
Addicted to these arguments that people have constantly every day and calling people assholes and losers, and you're just carrying around all that bullshit with you all day.
That's exhausting.
Which is why I don't do it. I mean, I could go in on every person that ever wronged me or this, that, and said bad things about me, and it's just like super unhealthy.
Well,
super
we know
unhealthy
people our age who are still doing that shit.
Of course. Don't
Comics.
Mark Maron, don't say it.
So as he does his little, I would never, bro. I'm above the fray. I don't engage in this petty drama bullshit, sniping back and forth. He's now going to proceed to do exactly that. And he didn't just do it in this podcast. He did it in another one. He had on Andrew Schulz after Callan and did it again.
He's sad. He wants other people to hurt. That's what it is.
It's just not charitable. It's
also, he's pathologically jealous. Like, he's like literally mentally ill. The thing is that Maron's podcast, which was number 1, isn't even in the top 100 anymore.
Oh my God. So understand something. Maron's criticisms were substantive. They were political in nature. It was like, hey, you're riding Trump's dick and ushering in fascism. And also, you're making comedy worse because all you're doing is trying to out-offensive each other, right? So he's saying negative effects on comedy and making comedy like this right-wing hack space. And also, you're ushering in fascism. That's what Maron's criticisms were. It had nothing to do with any interpersonal bullshit. Nothing to do with that. But notice, Rogan's response is to go personal. Rogan's response, oh, he's jealous, oh, he's insecure, oh, he's mentally ill. So everything he's saying is about the personality, the person of Mark Maron. Everything Maron is saying is about the impact Rogan is having on the body politic and comedy. So Maron's criticisms are substantive, Rogan's criticisms are personal. I mean, it's such bullshit, not addressing any of the actual criticisms.
I don't even think it's in the top 200. It went away. And it went away not because he did anything. He didn't get arrested. There was no scandal. People just stopped being interested in it. And I think that hurts the most.
Well, then, if that hurts the most, you should already be starting to hurt Rogan because he's fallen from grace. He's no longer the top podcast in the world. He's washed.
And why did they stop being interested?
It's not good.
All right, so it looks like Joe Rogan finally proved that he's not above shit talking, even though, of course, he still somehow tries to act like he's above it. You know, he goes from saying he doesn't hate on people who have said bad things about him to spending 20 minutes going off on Mark Maron. So he finally just snapped. And of course, he's way more tuned in to what people are saying about him than he wants you to believe. And he's definitely not above drama, you know, because usually Rogan tries to avoid feeding into any beefs with other comics or saying anything bad about them, publicly at least. Like Maron, he's been trashing Joe for around a decade, and Rogan would rarely acknowledge it on his show. But it looks like Maron's last special, where he made a joke about Theo Vaughn, and the media tour he did, where he was trashing the Rogan sphere every chance he had, really got to Joe, and now the gloves are off. I mean, he must have been holding this in for years, and he finally just ran out of patience, because he was ready to go. Like, he was prepared. He mentioned a Reddit post that was criticizing Mark's podcast, and he knew this weird stat about his comedy shows, and he's aware of everything Mark said about him. So Rogan acts like he's above all the haters and doesn't care what people think about him. You know, it's all just noise. But it turns out he's human, and he's actually pretty invested in what Mark, and I'm sure a lot of other people, are saying about him and his crew. And even before this, that was already starting to show. Like last year, Joe thought Mark was trashing Bert Kreischer, and he sent Bert a message and told him he needs to stop being friends with Mark. So now I think...
I'm sorry, that is like petty high school type shit, bro. That is some petty-ass high school type shit.
Just all the criticism of the Rogan sphere and the Austin comedy scene has reached a boiling point for Joe. And I think specifically comedians that have been mocking him and his crew got to him the most, because now it's not just Mark. You know, there are a good amount of prominent comedians that goof on him, which their opinions mean more to Joe than just a normal civilian's opinion.
That's such a good point, and I didn't think of that. That is such a good point. When it was just assholes like me and, you know, like my audience, you guys, people who like, you know, left-wing YouTube, when it was just us sort of mocking Rogan and the Rogan sphere, saying they're not funny, calling out their right-wing bullshit, then it was whatever. But then it sort of spread. It was beyond the left-wing community. It became part of this just like this new like, I would call it like almost like a comedy policing space on YouTube. Too Lazy to Try is part of it. There's other channels that are part of it as well. And like then it spread to there, and they started criticizing the Rogan sphere. Then, I don't know, criticism of the Rogan sphere became very mainstream. And then it's like the comics who are still somewhat in touch with the audience also shared some of those criticisms. Like Shane Gillis, by the way, who's in the Rogan sphere, has criticized the Rogan sphere and been like, the comedy's getting kind of hack and all they got to do is their anti-trans jokes and whatever the fuck, right? And so, yes, it finally got to the point where, like, I guess Rogan was able to tune out the noise when it was just people like me criticizing. But then when it grew to the point where now there's a whole cottage industry that criticizes the Rogan sphere, and you have other comedians, even ones that are somewhat friendly with Joe Rogan, go, I don't really like that Austin shit they're doing. That's why it looks like he's snapping. And the target for all the anger is Mark Maron, who sort of emerged as one of the leading voices that criticizes the Rogan sphere.
And Joe desperately wants to be seen as a respected comedian and be respected by comedians. So I think it hurts him the most when comics are trashing him. And now that that's kind of become mainstream and Maron's getting more attention for it than ever, Rogan finally felt the need to respond. You know, I think Rogan realized a lot of people are actually starting to agree with Mark now. And that's why he needs to point out that Mark is just a miserable and jealous hater.
Correct. That's exactly what it is.
Also, it's hilarious. Rogan decided to respond right when Maron ended his podcast. I'm sure that's definitely another reason why he responded now. And Joe thinks Mark's podcast falling off is a big reason why he's so bitter. Because apparently early on in podcasting, when Mark had the #1 podcast, Joe said that's when he's the nicest and he stopped talking shit about people. But then once Joe and other podcasters started passing him, then he went back to his old ways. And Joe said it's the same thing with stand-up. Mark has a falling out with everyone who does better than him. So Joe saying this stuff is definitely going to set Mark off.
But by the way, like, Mark Maron is very open about the fact that he was insecure. He is a jealous guy, that he has been hard to get along with. He's very open about that fact. But having said that, all of the criticisms that are going against Joe this time around, like, all of them are substantive. Like, that petty, insecure, jealous type stuff, he admits that's the kind of person I am, but he's open and honest with that fact, and he's open and honest with the fact that this criticism is political in nature. And, you know, he's angry also about the destruction of comedy and making it an offensive fest, right? So it's like you're not, whatever the shit is that Rogan is saying against Maron has already said it against himself. He's been very vulnerable with all of his flaws, right? And so you can't just peg all this on that. But he's trying, but that's what Rogan is trying to do.
And he's probably going to want to bring his podcast back after he hears this, you know, just so he can rant about Joe every episode.
Like, do you understand, Mark, when he first started, when he was just first coming up, was friends with Mitch Hedberg, and then Mitch Hedberg hit, and he couldn't be friends with him anymore.
Really?
Yep. Stop being his friend. Same thing with Louis C.K. Louis C.K. and him were tight. Louis blew up, Mark didn't. He had to fucking hate him, and he turned on him. Talked shit about him openly. And then he became successful. And the years where Mark was successful were the best years of Mark, because Mark was fun. Mm-hmm. Like, I've had ups and downs with Mark. I've gone through this with him like 3 or 4 different times, where he gets upset at me, and then we talk, and then, are we good? We're good. Like, he likes to do that. He likes to talk shit about you, and then you confront him, and he says, you're right. And with me, my relationship with him was really complicated, because when I was an open micer, I was 21 years old, and I was just starting out. Mark gave me a compliment once that really helped me. He came up to me and he goes, hey, man, you're really funny. He just keep doing what you're doing. Don't listen to anybody else. Just keep doing what you're doing. I was like, wow, thank you.
That's his best side. That's the good side.
It is not all bad.
No.
And he was a young guy back then, right? So he was just being cool. And then over time, obviously I became more famous than him and more successful than him. And he does not like that. He fucking hates that. And the only time we were cool was when Mark was #1. So Mark, the podcast took off, and you got to realize it took off when he was deep into his 40s, right? And it was the #1 podcast in the country. And he was on Rolling Stone magazine, and, you know, he
Again, notice none of this is about the substance of Maron's criticism. None of it is.
had his own show on IFC, the Maron Show, and he was fucking great. He was cool to hang with. He was fun because he didn't have to compare himself to anybody anymore, because he was a success. Like, he could look at his own success. He was doing a television show. He had his podcast. Everything was great. And we were cool. Like, we were friends. Like, I'd see him. I'd give him a hug. I'd say, what's going on? We would talk. We're friendly at the store. We never hung out off site. But we were.
This was, by the way, before Rogan went full MAGA and Trump dick rider too. So it makes sense. It makes sense. Maron has always been a left-wing guy. He used to host an Air America radio show. Air America was the original left-wing talk radio. In fact, when I was growing up, it's what I wanted to do for a living. Obviously, Air America doesn't exist anymore, but he hosted a left-wing talk radio show. And so, yeah, I'm not surprised he was buddy-buddy with you. This was probably back when you were supporting Bernie Sanders, right?
Friendly. Like, we had pushed all the beef aside, and he even did my podcast. We had a great time. And then I started getting more successful. And then my podcast passed his. Then my podcast became number one. And then the Spotify deal. And that's when he started talking shit about me. So he started talking shit about me long before all this Trump stuff. This Trump stuff is just the most recent iteration of this bizarre thing that he does with people.
And I'm sure Mark's going to flip out over this, but also he's probably a little satisfied knowing he's really getting in Rogan's head. I mean, this goes on for almost 20 minutes, which is wild because normally Rogan tries to avoid talking about any conflict between comedians. You know, he never really wants to call out comics anymore. Like he used to back in the day, you know, with Carlos Mencia and Jay Moore. Rogan ruined those guys. Like he used to be able to destroy careers, but I don't think he's really called out a comic like that since Jay Moore. So that's why this Maron beef is a pretty big deal. You know, shit's getting serious for Rogan. Because also at this point, why even address it? Like if Maron's a washed up comedian who's had a failed podcast and nobody listens to him now and he's just a hater, why not just let him fade into irrelevancy?
That's such a great point. And the reason he's addressing it is because he knows there's truth in what Maron is saying.
So Rogan must think of him as more of a threat now than ever. And also Joe said he got really pissed about that joke Mark Maron made on his special about how Theo Von would do a podcast with Hitler, because apparently that sent Theo into a spiral. So Mark is wreaking havoc on these people. Like it's crazy.
By the way, Rogan does go on to say that. He sent Theo into a spiral with his mean joke in his comedy special. Like, well, hold on. Aren't you the free speech guys? Aren't you the fucking suck it up guys? Aren't you the anything goes, bro, nothing held sacred? But apparently Theo Von is off limits to make fun of? Jesus Christ.
He has Joe Rogan now acting like sometimes jokes go too far, and Theo Von is off limits. You know, it's funny that Rogan will praise Tony Hinchcliffe nonstop for roasting random open micers, but then if a comic makes a joke about Theo Von, it's like the end of the world. Yep. So Rogan gets defensive about Theo here and says Mark just made the joke because he's jealous of Theo, which he probably is jealous of Theo, but also I think Rogan's kind of coping here because he also proves the joke was accurate. It's so funny. He's like, Mark said Theo would have Hitler on. Does he really believe that? Does he think that's true? Come on, Theo has anyone on his podcast. He'll talk to anyone.
He also lies.
Well, by the way, that proves his point, right? You guys had Trump on and gave him a hot stone massage. You would have Hitler on in the fucking, 1930s. You would. So the reason why that joke was funny is because there's truth in it. There's truth. I mean, Theo just had some law enforcement asshole defending ICE on the other day. Yeah, this whole I'll talk to anybody, bro. I'll talk to anybody, bro. Do people realize yet how stupid that is? Do people realize how low IQ that is? Trying to make it seem like it's a virtue to, quote, talk to anybody? Okay, invite on a serial killer. Invite on a Nazi. Invite on a child rapist. Invite on a jihadist. Invite on a tanky or a liar or some former friend of you who betrayed you and wronged you and stole money from you. Invite on a violent paranoid schizophrenic. Invite on a cult leader. No, there are fucking lines. Everybody has lines. But when they get cornered, they go, oh, I'll talk to anybody, bro. That's a weak-ass way to try to deflect from the fact that these people helped elect a fucking fascist.
One of the things he lied about, he did a podcast with Howie Mandel, and Howie Mandel asked...
By the way, I love how tuned in Rogan is. Apparently, he's seeing all the shit Maron's saying.
Him if he had problems with comedians. No, I don't have any problems with any comedians. I've never had any problems with comedians. What are you talking about? He's had a problem with every single comedian that's more successful than him. Bill Burr, Louis C.K., Dave Chappelle, me, Tony Hinchcliffe, everybody that passes him, all of a sudden, he talks about them on stage. And the Theo thing really drove me nuts, because that sent Theo into a real spiral.
Did it?
Yeah. Yeah, well, Theo went into a spiral, and that was a big part of him getting attacked, was Maron talking about him on his special.
Oh my God. All you guys are so fucking sensitive little snowflakes. This is what we signed up for, bro. If you're going to be in the public eye, people are going to fucking disagree with you. If you earned all the fucking flowering love and adoration that you got for so many years, you earned all the fucking disagreement when you start fading and you start saying things people don't fucking agree with. And it's the same with Theo Von.
He'd have Hitler on his podcast. Well, why is he saying that? Does he think that's true?
Yes.
Does he think that Theo has anybody on his fucking show, including Bernie Sanders?
He's learning. He wants to learn.
He'll talk to people, and he will talk to anybody on his podcast. That's not what the thing is. The thing is that Maron's podcast, which was number one, isn't even in the top 100 anymore. I don't even think it's in the top 200.
There's such a jealous, whatever, bro, you're just a jealous hater, bro. You just hate me because you ain't me, bro. Really? This is the fucking high school ass response.
And I think Mark definitely is bitter. He hates how successful Rogan's podcast and comedy career are. But some of his criticism is valid, and it's just hilarious that he's getting to Rogan this much. Like Rogan even mentions a Reddit post he saw about how bad Mark's podcast is, which if he's on there, he should also see what Reddit thinks of his podcast. Of course, every post about Rogan that's negative is from a jealous hater, but if it's a negative post about Mark Maron, it's legit criticism. But even though Rogan does get a lot of criticism, he obviously still is a way more successful podcaster than Mark, which I believe Mark is definitely bitter about. I think he even admits that.
People just stop being interested in it. And I think that hurts the most. And
why did they stop being interested?
It's not good. Here's a part of it. Like, the conversations that he has are fine, but the beginning of the podcast is these like self-indulgent rants about life and him doing things. And
that's his style. It's always been his style, Joe. And he does have an audience that likes to listen to that shit. Just because it's not your shit, where he's selling fucking elk meat and dick pills or whatever the fuck. Jesus Christ. Again, this is the weakest response I've ever seen.
Thread dedicated on like Reddit, where people fast forward to the time, like they give you the time stamp of when he's done ranting, so you can just get to the interview. Because nobody wants to hear it. It's an inside, joke. But it just, that's, the reality is it's like Theo passed him, like rocketed past him, and now he has like the number 2 or number 3 podcast in the world.
And then Rogan starts trashing Maron's comedy career, like he was not holding back during this episode. And he mentions how he's pissed it never really took off and he feels like he deserves more success. And then Joe mentions how sad Maron's fans are and brings up that he has the record for most single seats sold to a comedy show. So Rogan was really prepared with ways to trash Maron. I mean, I don't know how you can pretend like he's above feeding into beefs or attacking comics anymore. I mean, I get why Rogan would want to respond to him and trash him. You know, it's fair game. But you can't act like you're above it all at the same time. I mean, like I played in the beginning, before he starts going on this rant, he's like, man, I could go off on every person that's ever wronged me, but I don't engage in that kind of thing. You know, it's just bad for you. It's unhealthy. And then he proceeds to just go off on Mark Maron for 20 minutes. You know, it's like he was trying his best to hold himself back, and he knew he shouldn't go off on Mark, but he just couldn't help it.
Maron never developed an audience for his comedy, and he always felt like he deserved it. And that's what drove him the most nuts. He always felt like he deserved it. But it's like, you deserve what you get. You know what he has a record for? One of those ticket things, whether it's Ticketmaster or whatever one. Number 1 for selling single seats.
That's interesting. That's really interesting.
Rogan's doing deep dives, trying to be like, what can I say to go after Maron? What can I dig up here? Jesus Christ, bro.
People with no friends.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Really? Fuck.
Sad people. Sad people that identify with the way he behaves. But the proof is in the pudding. Do people come to see you? Do you put asses in seats? Do they enjoy the time? Or is it an angry bomb where you're on stage ranting about other comedians? Well, that's Maron. And
oh my God. Literally trying to pretend like there's no truth in anything he said. That joke about Theo fucking blew up. It went viral. It's hilarious. And you're pretending like that's not the case.
Does that all the time. Tim Dillon was just saying he was doing that in LA the other day. Just ranting about all the comedians at the Riyadh Comedy Festival.
Good. Fuck, of course. What, do you guys think you're above criticism? Jesus Christ. These comedians, fucking free speech tough guys, all of them think they're above criticism.
Which is all, you know, like legitimate area of criticism, if you can make it funny. Like, you know, you're working for the Saudi government and they've definitely done some stuff that's fucking horrible. The root of it all is not real. It's not that he cares so much that he wants everyone to do the right thing. That's not it. It's he's upset that all these people are getting attention.
Oh my God, this is so childish. So in other words, he's saying Maron doesn't even believe or care about the political, points he's making against us. It's like, no, that's literally the core of it. That's the core of, oh my God.
He's upset that all these, it's very childish. But he'll make it look like, you know, he's the righteous side, the left, the progressives. He's the voice now, and he's going to fucking, you know, we got work to do. We got to get these fascists out. No, it's about him getting more attention. That's what it ultimately is all about. And that's unfortunate. And I'm not mad at him. And if I saw him...
oh, yeah. Totally not mad, bro.
And I talked to him. We were cool. I'd give him a hug.
Yeah, so maybe they could just hug it out and do a podcast together. And, you know, we can't have the last line of defense fighting with each other like this. No, I'm kidding. I'm sure this is just going to escalate, and other comedians will probably chime in and start beefing.
Now, by the way, it's exactly what we got. So Andrew Schulz dives in, and he honestly, his reaction might even be worse than Rogan's.
Like, I've been seeing a lot of comedians like trying to like separate themselves from Austin lately. Have you seen this? A lot of comedians that like use Joe and his millions of followers to boost their careers, that went on there to promote their specials, that performed at the club, like really used Joe's power and influence that he was very generous to give them. And all of a sudden there's like a little internet backlash. It's like, and now I see these comics like kind of vocally talking shit, that they would talk all this shit, by the way, behind closed doors, because it's what comics do, but like real like rat weasel shit. Because you let this guy enrich you, you used him for his followers, and now you see a situation where like they're getting backlash, and instead you pile on for self-salvation. Yeah. There's a lot of fucking weasels in this business. And
so, according to Andrew Schulz, it's rat weasel shit to disagree with Rogan publicly. If you've ever been on his podcast, you're not allowed to say a single fucking word against him. That's the logic he's setting up here. What happened to free speech? What happened to being authentic? What happened to telling the truth? What about that? No. Can't do it when it comes to Rogan. Rogan, you got to bite your tongue. He's the emperor, god, lord, overlord, king of the fucking... Lord and overlord in the same thing doesn't make sense. Of the comedy scene, right? So you're not allowed to say anything about him. It's unbelievable. Holy
Good.
shit.
I like to see it. I want everybody to know.
All right, so it looks like the Rogan sphere is done holding back. The same day Rogan called out Mark Maron, Schulz also called out Maron and every comedian that's turned on Rogan. So things are getting really interesting. You know, it seems like now Rogan's friends might have the green light to start trashing other comics. Because like I said in my last video, for a while, Rogan didn't want any conflict between them. He hates it, which is respectable, but we all know behind the scenes there's a ton of conflict, jealousy, trash talking, and backstabbing. So it's nice to see it all be put out in the open now. I mean, after the Riyadh Comedy Festival and comedians trashing the Rogan sphere, it's like we're in a comedy civil war now. Like Schulz, he went off on so many people during this. You know, like with Rogan, you could tell Schulz has also been holding this in for a while, and there's a lot of people he wanted to talk shit about. And it's hilarious because he brings up Bill Burr and Bobby Lee and Andrew Santino and the backlash they've been getting for doing the Riyadh Comedy Festival.
By the way, Bill Burr hasn't said, I don't think, anything against Rogan. If anything ever, it was very tepid. Santino also, I don't think he said anything specifically against Rogan, just very tepid criticisms of the Austin scene, or his guests make those criticisms. And this is still leads to Andrew Schulz going off.
Like bad friends are in shambles. Go look at their comment section, which is ironic because Schulz also performed at the festival and is getting called out in his comment section, but he's in complete denial. It's so funny. He's like, thankfully, our fans don't even care that we did the festival. But if you look at the comments on this podcast, it paints a different picture, and it's pretty similar to Bad Friends' comment section. But at least neither of them have it as bad as Bill Burr. You know, they'll be fine. Like, Schulz is right about that. I'm sure they'll always be making jokes about it, but this will blow over.
I love Andrew Schulz trying to be like this fucking moral policeman against other comedians. Meanwhile, he took money from a literal genocidal dictator who used a bone saw on a journalist to chop him up into pieces, did a genocide in Yemen, has fucking slavery in their country, has women as second-class citizens, had people executed for tweets they don't like, have people executed for witchcraft and apostasy. This guy who's swimming in blood money is gonna go in on comedians who tepidly criticize Rogan.
I don't think Schulz's fans really care as much as Bill's, especially. Like, this isn't really that surprising from Schulz, but it is hilarious watching him cope over it and act like Bad Friends fans are losing their minds and his couldn't care less. But I think he's just looking for a way to trash Andrew Santino and Bobby because they had criticized podcasts like Flagrant for having on politicians. Also, they had on Mark Maron, and he went off on Rogan while he's on there in the whole Austin scene. So I think Schulz is trying to use this as an opportunity to throw shade at them.
And I know I ain't shit, y'all ain't shit.
Well, that's the reason why we don't have any pushback, barely any pushback, is because we've never been the virtue signaling type. We've never been the ones out here. Like, there are people that are getting pushback, and like, based on some shit that they had said in the past, I kind of get it. Like, I'll be honest, I kind of get it.
Yeah.
You know, like, Burr's getting all this pushback, and it's like the first time I've seen in his career him not, like, aware of why it's happening.
Yeah.
Like, I saw him on Conan, and again, it's a clip, so I don't want to take clips out of context, but he's like, oh, these people are, like, sanctimonious cunts, and it's like, bro, you did say that Beyonce sold out for blood money.
Yeah.
For going to, like, an oil state.
Yeah.
And then you went to an oil state. So, like, now, I will say, that being said, we've received almost no criticism. You know what I mean? Bad Friends is in shambles. That comment section is crazy. You know what I mean? Like,
I love how, as they're arguing, all the anti-Rogan comedians are petty. He goes, this is like the world's pettiest shit I've ever seen. Just like a gossipy, shit-talking high schooler, basically. Right? As he pretends he's holier than thou. It's really something special.
all Bobby did is went there and showed his
Yeah.
Yeah.
showed his dick, and then Santino,
progressive.
he did an accent, and then they came back. It's not that crazy.
Yeah, it's
Leave him
progressive.
alone. Show your dick, Santino, do the accent, and then you come home. It is what it is.
It's so funny, dude.
Yeah. Well, look, we got the best fans.
And the comments are hilarious. People are like, did he just gaslight us into
Some top-tier gaslighting going on here. The first 20 minutes of this podcast is the boys' justification for taking the money. LOL. Did he just gaslight us into saying we didn't care? So his own audience is criticizing him for taking the Saudi blood money. That's amazing.
saying we don't care? Like, all I see in the comments are fans caring. So this was an interesting strategy. And then they also spent like 20 minutes ranting about how they don't care what people have to say about them doing the festival, while simultaneously addressing
Schulz got to be the most bothered, unbothered person on the planet. Schulz has now literally turned into the type of person he hated 5 years ago. Rule number 1 in dodging moral accountability, openly have no morals to begin with.
what everyone has to say about them doing the festival. I mean, like this comment says, Schulz has got to be the most bothered, unbothered person on the planet right now. So Schulz and Akash addressed the rules of the festival, you know, because a lot of people are criticizing comedians for censoring themselves for the Saudis, since there's a lot of stuff you can't joke about. But apparently Schulz and Akash didn't even read the rules or see what was off limits. Like, Schulz claims he didn't censor himself at all, and he'll say whatever he wants over there, and he thinks there won't be any repercussions. He's like, oh, they don't really care about the rules, which, thanks to Tim Dillon, we know they actually do. You know, they take the rules very seriously because obviously he got fired before the gig for making a slave labor joke on his own show. So maybe Schulz didn't censor himself while he was there, but we know for a fact there are topics that are off limits.
People came up to me like, you can't talk about X, Y, and Z, and I was like, what? I haven't even looked at this list.
You can say we can't, but we're gonna.
Yeah.
And then you just deal with the repercussions of that, which are nothing. It's nothing ever.
Yeah, but
It's-
our
it's-
jokes
No,
hit.
no. What it is, it's people covering their asses there. It's just
yeah.
like, it's like when you're like dealing with like a marketing campaign.
And then they also start
Oh my God. Is he really this stupid? Does he really not understand the nature of fucking Saudi Arabia? Like, Jesus Christ, you have no idea what you're talking about.
trashing comedians who are talking shit about the comedians doing the festival, like Mark Maron. And it sounds like Schulz refers to somebody else specifically here too, but he doesn't say their name. I think he might be referring to Gianmarco Ceresi. I think he was speaking out about the festival, and he also makes fun of the Rogan sphere.
That's the thing. When these fucking comics are like trying to be self-aware when they're shitting on us, they're like, just for the record, we didn't get an invite to the real.
We know you didn't.
Yeah.
You can't perform outside of Brooklyn.
Exactly. Like,
You do musical theater crowd work.
yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, your
1000%.
comedy isn't good. Why would they want you?
Look at that audience of yours. I bet I can count the minorities on one hand.
What a sacrifice.
They really think they're above criticism. And they really think it's not like a gold mine of material that they just sucked Saudi dick for probably what, 500,000, $1 million each. They really think like, you know, they're not going to get any pushback, not going to get other people making jokes about them. Like, I'm sorry. You guys are fucking washed. You guys are pathetic. Like, this is sick.
To not go to the festival you weren't invited
Yeah,
to.
they don't know you exist. It's not because you're a problem. It's not because you speak truth to power.
Yeah.
It's because you speak truth to upper middle class white people and 10 minorities who want to fuck upper middle class white people.
Just pat yourselves on the back.
Yeah.
That's it.
Go to
Yeah.
a Mark Maron show. Count the minorities.
Exactly. Yeah.
I doubt you get. I doubt you.
So now all of a sudden, the diversity doesn't matter, bro. We're all about equality and meritocracy, bro. We don't do identity politics, bro. Now all of a sudden, when it comes to attacking progressive comedians who criticize them for selling out for blood money, now all of a sudden they trot out like, oh, where's your diversity? What the fuck is this? What? The Rogan sphere is fucking cooked, bro. They are cooked. They are fucking high on their own farts. Jesus Christ.
to the second hand.
Yeah, where are those minorities he cares so much about?
And then Schulz starts going in on comedians who have turned on Rogan, which he doesn't name anyone specifically, but it sounds like he has a lot of people in mind. So shit's getting serious. Like, Schulz goes off and calls them two-faced snake weasel rats, and he claims the comedians are just going with the tide. Like, they went on Rogan when it was more beneficial, and now that his podcast isn't what it used to be and public sentiment has shifted, comedians that were former guests of his are jumping on the hate train.
It's like, and now I see these comics like kind of vocally talking shit, that they would talk all this shit, by the way, behind closed doors, because it's what comics do, but like real like rat weasel shit. Because you let this guy enrich you, you used him for his followers, and now you see a situation where like they're getting backlash, and instead you pile on for self-salvation, not get your boys back and refute some of the rumors that exist on the internet.
Yeah.
There's a lot of fucking weasels in this business, and it's good. I like to see it. I want everybody to know, because they're gonna get canceled for some shit in the future. They're gonna not live up to the purity test, and Joe is the type of guy that he would have had your back. He would have had you on the biggest platform in the world to explain yourself. He would have given you that opportunity. But now, you know, you're showing who you really are.
So again, you're not allowed to criticize Rogan or the Rogan sphere. If you do that, you're a rat weasel. That's what he's saying. It is mandatory that you always pretend like everything there is amazing and perfect, and you always agree with Joe and you always agree with Andrew. I mean, look at the fucking standard they're setting up.
So comedy scenes are comedy scenes. Like Brooklyn was the most annoying comedy scene.
Yeah.
Probably still is. I don't need to perform there anymore.
This thing.
So you're allowed to criticize the Brooklyn comedy scene, but somebody from the Brooklyn comedy scene is not allowed to criticize the Austin comedy scene. Funny how that works. It's almost like you've set up different rules for yourself, which also conveniently allows you guys to take blood money from a dictator.
It's like they're going like all the comics and whatever. It's like, listen, the majority of comics at a comedy club suck. Okay? They do. I go to the cellar and roll my eyes at half of these motherfuckers before I gotta go on and mop up the bombs that they fucking do. Okay? Now, Joe can no longer do something for you, or Tony can no longer do something for you, because that's where it really comes down. When going on Joe Rogan made you a millionaire for 6 years in a row, all these comics were fucking quiet. They were complimentary. They were being so sweet because they wanted to get in. Now that going on Joe Rogan once doesn't automatically give you a career. And now that Kill Tony is focused on more like character-based people, now they no longer see their salvation in these two people. So now they're having these honest conversations. Oh, they're saying the R word a lot. Shut up, retard.
So why can't it be that they actually disagree with you guys, though? That's what, like, he dodges Occam's razor, which is like, maybe criticism is happening because you guys are worthy of criticism. Maybe people genuinely didn't like that you rode Trump's nuts and gave him a hot stone massage. Maybe people don't like the fucking mental gymnastics that goes into not admitting Trump is in the fucking Epstein files. right? Maybe they don't like that Trump is now bombing multiple different countries on a daily basis illegally, blowing up fucking Venezuelan fishermen on some casual shit. Maybe they don't like the fucking concentration camps that Trump is setting, alligator Auschwitz, fucking sending people to Guantanamo Bay and shit. Maybe it's substantive. Maybe, nope, not allowed to entertain that. It's got to be some like fucking personal moral failing of yours that you ever criticized Rogan or disagreed with him and said it publicly. Oh, how dare you say it publicly? Jesus Christ.
Dude, I'm seeing these comments. It's just so two-faced snake weasels, little rats.
Yeah.
And this is kind of who they are, though, to be honest. Like, these are the conversations they have in private, and then they kind of change face. So maybe it's even better that they're finally have the balls to be authentic.
I mean,
now.
look,
Yeah, so it sounds like shit's hitting the fan here. You know, those comedians goofing on Rogan really touched a nerve. Like, I figured it was getting to him, but I didn't realize it was this bad. And I'm not totally sure who Schulz is talking about, but at one point it definitely sounds like he's referring to Stavros Hakias, who's been on Rogan's podcast, but he's not.
And by the way, is funnier than anybody in the Rogan sphere could ever fucking hope to be ever.
Someone whose career was made by Rogan. But Schulz refers to him because he did a podcast with another comedian, and I think she made a trans joke or something, and he called her out on it and said she had Austin brain. And that clip got a lot of attention. And Schulz,
No, she kept saying the T slur. The slur for trans. The T slur for trans, right? She kept saying that, and Stavros was like vibing with it and being jokey about it, but was also like, hey dog, like, don't say that. Like, for your own good, kind of, don't say that, right?
also mentions how this person was on a podcast that's known for saying offensive stuff, which sounds like he's referring to Town. So I think he's definitely talking about Stavros. And also it sounds like he could still be talking.
But you can't cancel Stavros. He doesn't care, right? He doesn't care. For him, there actually is nothing held sacred. And so, the Rogan sphere comes after him. That's not going to impact him at all. He doesn't give a fuck, right? Like, but they're making it seem like he sinned by disagreeing with Rogan.
About Andrew Santino and Bobby Lee, you know, because they had on Marin and they also criticized the Rogan sphere. But then recently Santino went on Rogan's podcast and did Kill Tony. So after that, people thought everything was fine between them. But now hearing this, it sounds like, who knows? You know, it sounds like Schulz thinks he's a backstabber. So also I think he could be referring to Anthony Jeselnik because he's been making fun of Schulz in the Rogan sphere for a while now, but I guess not as much recently. And those comedians seem to respect him a little more. So it's possible Schulz isn't thinking of him. And obviously, I mean, he's been on Rogan's podcast, but Rogan's not responsible for his career either. So then also, I'm sure Schulz is thinking of Bill Burr and maybe Dan Soder. He's another guy that's been on Rogan's podcast before, and he's taken some subtle shots, kind of more so at the people that follow Rogan and the comedians that latch onto him, like Schulz. And then also, he had on Mark Maron recently, so I'm sure that did it. You know, it sounds like if you have on Mark Maron, the Rogan sphere hates you.
Yeah, so it seems like it's the Rogan sphere. It's Schulz, it's Rogan. They're like the petty high school bitches. You know what I'm saying? Like, Bobby Lee and Andrew Santino, how dare you have on Mark Maron? He's not friends with our overlord, Rogan. Like, what do you do? Like, come on, man. We all see through this.
But none of these comedians owe their careers to Rogan. Like, I'm sure they really appreciate him inviting them on and would admit Rogan's very gracious to comedians and loves helping them out and seeing them succeed. But I don't think it's out of line for them to joke about or criticize Rogan just because he had them on his podcast once. I mean, obviously, I don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but I wouldn't say these comedians are stabbing him in the back. Even though it does seem like Andrew Santino might be a little two-faced. You know, he criticizes podcasters like Rogan and has Maron on, who's known for trashing Rogan, and really doesn't push back at all once Maron starts going off on him. But then when Andrew has something to promote, he'll go on Rogan's podcast and be nice to him and act like none of that happened. So also Schulz acts like all these comedians are just kicking Rogan while he's down and only trashing him now because it's popular. But there's a lot of valid criticism of Rogan, and his podcast has changed quite a bit. Like, some comedians, I'm sure, are jealous and just piling on because they sense weakness, but a lot of this is just cope. I mean, Schulz acts like the only reason comedians feel comfortable criticizing Rogan now is because his podcast isn't as popular, and it seems like he thinks it's out of line for comedians to make jokes about Rogan.
I just think it's so corny. You use someone to enrich yourself, and the second they're going through something, you immediately abandon them, and then you could say nothing.
Yeah.
See, okay, but here's the thing. Ready? I remember I defended Rogan during a bunch of fucking scandals back when I was going on his show, but I also genuinely thought, like, this guy he supported Bernie Sanders. He's definitely left-leaning. Maybe he has a handful of positions that are more right-leaning, but he's definitely left-leaning. His heart is in the right place. So I defended him during scandals when I felt like the criticisms were unfair to him, right? But then guess what, Andrew? Like, Rogan went full fucking MAGA. He went full MAGA. He went full pro-Trump. He started, either not knowing or censoring himself when it comes to legitimate criticisms of Trump. He helped usher in, like, tens of millions probably of young men to support that project. So he helped usher in fascism. So now it's like, I'm done defending him, right? There was a time where I defended him in some of his fucking lowest moments, but as soon as it became clear to me, oh, he's actually not left-leaning and he actually doesn't mean well and he's gone, like, full fascist, then it's like, okay, well, fuck him and fuck the political project he's a part of. Schulz makes it seem like it's not possible to have genuine and sincere disagreements that you express, right? When your job is fucking public speaking, whether it's in a comedy context or not. It's just so, like, it's just very childish and very, like, you really are acting like he's your lord and you're the peasant.
But you have to act, now you have to say something. You have to have a word. It's like, yeah, okay. Well, now we know who you are. Even though we always knew, now everybody knows who you are. And your fans probably...
No,
like,
some of them I'm surprised by.
Really?
Some of them I'm like, I thought you were a stand-up dude, man. I thought you were a stand-up fucking guy. And you were not.
Maybe they are. Maybe they are stand-up guys, and maybe they're authentic. And they were being authentic when they defended Rogan, and they're being authentic now when they're not.
Is the epitome of a...
What's changed? Because I feel like
They don't see their salvation in him. Comics are loyal to their salvation.
Sorry, what are you saying?
I feel like when Rogan was in LA, it was everybody got along. It was really kumbaya in the comedy scene. Like no one really attacked other comics, even if they disagreed with them. What has changed?
This is my opinion. Joe Rogan was the way to make it for a 6 or 7 year stretch. It was like you went on Rogan. I saw it happen to me. Like going on Rogan, life changed immediately, right? And when that was the case, all these comics were real fucking quiet. Nobody said a peep. No one said, and if they disagreed with something,
Yeah, but back then he wasn't riding Trump's dick, bro. And back then it didn't look like the Austin comedy scene was going to be just a competition to see who could be the most offensive. Like, what are you missing about this?
they were just silent. Now going on Rogan once isn't going to immediately change your career. So then comics go, okay, well, I can't make it immediately off of Rogan. I can't make it immediately off Tony. I guess I'll sandbag these motherfuckers while, the internet is coming after them.
Or maybe they'll give their actual opinions and tell the actual truth about what they think of the Austin comedy scene and Rogan and you.
I think that's what it is. I think it's purely where is my salvation? And now they see their salvation as like, oh, I'm going to separate myself from the manosphere because there's so much criticism on the internet. And it's like, no, that's the time where you should lean into the people who helped you. That's the time where you should be a good, solid friend. That's the time where you should refute fake narrative.
Be a good, solid friend as your friend starts goose-stepping and zig-heiling and ushering in fascism.
It's about someone who helped you when you offered nothing to him. All these people that went on Rogan, they offered nothing to Rogan. He literally gave them a platform and the biggest platform on the
Look at how fucking transactional this guy's brain is.
planet. Millions of people that can go come out to your shows. You made millions of dollars off this guy, and now you're gonna fucking sandbag him, let other people come on your show to fuck.
So if you're keeping track, you're literally just not allowed to criticize him ever because, you once went on his podcast.
And talk shit about him. That is you don't want that motherfucker in a foxhole, put it that way. And people know that. People know that at their core. Like your fans might support you right now, but they know you're a rat. And, and your time is going to come and then nobody's going to be there to help you.
So it's on now. Andrew Santino, Bobby Lee, Mark Maron, Stavros. I cannot wait for the responses. I cannot wait because honestly, Schulz and Rogan make it seem like, oh, we have a perfectly clear conscience. We never said anything wrong. We never did anything wrong. There's nothing criticized worthy about us or the Austin comedy scene. It's like, you have no fucking idea. Like you guys are niche. You're the niche ones. It turns out like riding Republican dick as they destroy the country makes you sort of, by definition, not that funny. Like if you can't see the obvious glaring flaws with that way of being, that's a you problem. And so we'll see if any of I feel like some of them might take the high road, but then again, comedians are not really known to do that. So we'll see. Some responses may be coming. Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.